Hi guys, it's me, Trudy Lee. How's everybody doing? This is part 3 of my story, and I told you it wouldn't be a linear time story, but different things going on in my childhood that kind of, you know, pushed me to be who I am today. At the very beginning, y'all saw this picture of my family. So that is a picture of me. I'm standing in the front. I'm the one with the little shorter hair, have a maxi dress on with a thick pink belt around. I absolutely adored that dress, you guys. I think that may have been an Easter picture of us. My mama, she was wearing a gypsy wig. Do y'all remember in the 70s there were all these long haired gypsy wigs? She loved wearing wigs. She would wear a wig to work. It was so funny. But she was wearing her wig, and I think she had a pair of boots on too. But in that picture, I'm standing right front center in the middle because I was all about showing my maxi dress. I was so proud of that dress. I loved it. I just loved it. But I was pretty chunky, you could see, and you understand why I was called the little ugly duckling. And my hair had started growing out of that little pixie cut. It was a little kind of little bob like, but it was just growing out of the pixie. So never had my hair cut in a pixie after that. But so my older sister, myself, younger little sister, my brother, and then the baby. So the baby had a crib in our room also. So all four of us were in there. But I don't know. She may have been in my mother's room. The crib might have been in my mom's room. That probably was. She was pretty little, so that's probably so. There might have only been three of us in that room. Okay. Now, we had moved to a place that was a little closer to our school. I was in elementary school. My sister had already gone to junior high, so I think I was in the fourth or fifth grade when we moved to that house. Maybe the fourth grade when I first moved, and I don't think we lived in that house all too long. But I know it went through the summer, so we went there during the school year and through the summer. So maybe a little less than a year or something we lived in that house, I believe. But it was nice because it was closer to the school and we didn't have to walk so far. It was still a lot further than you would allow your children to walk, I promise you. And there was no sidewalks, absolutely no sidewalks ever. So it was but it wasn't unusual for us not to have sidewalks. So that's just how the neighborhoods were. But there was a little girl across the street. I remember one night, it was dark, it was in the evening. She got hit by a car. I believe she was over there visiting this family, but I do think it was their relatives. She did get hit by a car and got killed. So it was very, very, very sad. This was this was a street that led to. We lived in Pasadena, Texas, and it led to Spencer Highway. So it was a main thoroughfare to get to Spencer Highway. And there was a light right there. It's very, very close, just a few houses down from the end of the street that was Spencer Highway. So it was a busy, trafficy road. Also, I think this individual had been drinking that hit the little girl and killed her. So it's very scary. It was a scary street to live on. A few scary things happened there. I remember trick or treating with my brother one year, and we went out by ourselves, and we were told that we could go just a couple of houses down because we'd been trick-or-treating and we wanted to do a little more. And my mother, I don't know, she said we could just go a couple of houses, and we went way out of our way. We went down our street and turned and went down another street, and a man came up on a car, and he said, and this was a time when kids were being taken and disappearing. And this man came up to us and said, "Your mama told me to come and pick y'all up. She wants you to come home now." And we're looking at him and we're like, "We don't know you." And we were so scared. And he said, "Get in the car and I'll bring you home to your mama. It's too late to be trick-or-treating." And we ran to the next house as fast as we could and started banging on the door. And nobody answered. The car had driven away. We were so scared we ran all the way back home. We were really, really scared. Have you ever heard of the Candy Man? He was in Pasadena, Texas, kidnapping and killing little boys. Very, very horrible. Anyway, we were told never to go into the car with anybody, so that was super scary. We never ever went trick or treating alone again. We learned our lesson. That was scary, really, really scary. And we had a dog named Rascal, just a little mutt that I loved because I just loved animals. I always had animals, you guys. I had, as I got older, I had parakeets. And I'll tell you a story about the parakeet one day. Excuse me. But that's for another day. My little dog followed my sister to the bus stop. And you can't believe it, because if you people know Spencer Highway, there was a bus stop on Spencer Highway, and it was right at the light. And my dog followed my sister to the bus stop, and he got run over and killed right on Spencer Highway, and it was just terrible. So I don't know what happened. I think my sister saw the dog or something and ran home. Instead of catching the bus, she ran home crying the dog had gotten run over. And then I was crying. It was terrible. My mother kept me home from school that day because I was just beside myself with this, dog being killed. It was very sad. But this house that we lived in, it was just a rental that my parents had gotten. Of course, it would be a while before they would buy a house. I don't know why, but they didn't buy a house for a while. This had a porch on the side, had a big porch on the side, and it had been made into a room. So there wasn't really any windows looking out on one wall that would have been the porch that you would be, seeing and being able to see. So that whole wall was walled in, but we had some windows on the side. And it was funny because the kitchen window that you would be looking outside to the backyard was looking into the bedroom. So that was our bedroom. It was a huge, big, enclosed patio, basically. But of course, it was completely finished. The only thing was it didn't have carpet. It didn't have any closets. So there was 3 of us girls living in this room, and I think we had 2 twin beds and a double bed. That's what I remember. But a lot of us would double up in the bed. We'd take turns sleeping together in the double bed because I remember being in and out of it. This was in the summertime that I'm having a memory from. My grandmother was visiting from Maine. She was here on a visit. She would come many times during the summer. She would come, and we loved her so much. We loved her to come. She taught me how to cook and make pies, and she was a grandma. We called her Grammy, and I loved her dearly. Really, really loved her dearly. Enjoyed her visits. But I was pretty young at that time when she came to visit. Like I said, I was 9 or 10 years old, somewhere around there. And it was a summer night, so us kids we had to go to bed, but we couldn't really go to sleep because we didn't have to get up in the morning, and we would just play around in our rooms. As long as we were quiet and didn't turn on the lights, we were fine. Nobody bothered us. They were happy that we were just being quiet, I'm sure. And do you remember? You remember those fans that would fit right into the windows? We had a fan that would go right in the window. My dad had brought it from the other house too. But I mean, it was made for a window. It's a fan window. It goes in, and there's no sides or anything. It completely fits in the window. We didn't have air conditioning, so that's what we had to cool us off. So my dad would come around, and in his tidy whities. My dad just slept in underwear. I never saw him in a pair of pajamas. And he would come and check the house. He'd go around and check the house. So he'd come into our room and make sure we were cool enough, check the fan. And then mosquitoes would get in through that fan. So he would come around with the Raid and spray all above our beds, all around us and everything. We could smell that horrible Raid smell, that insecticide. Gosh, if we only knew, right? Back in those days, we didn't know that we're spraying poison into, in the air. So yeah, constantly. He constantly did that. I can remember at every house we were at, he was spraying for the mosquitoes. Do you remember those big trucks that used to come by and they'd spray for mosquitoes? And we'd see the mist and we'd want to go run in the mist. What's wrong with us? But usually Dad was just checking on us, making sure that we're comfortable and secure, the house and everything. And a lot of times I would have a leg ache. I had terrible leg aches as a child, and he'd fill up a water bottle for me, and put it on my leg. My brother had severe leg aches too, I remember. And one time they took him to the emergency room because he was just crying so much. And the doctor said it was growing pains. That was a big growing pain, but we both had a lot of leg aches. So maybe it's something that was part of growing up in our family. But anyway, Daddy always made sure we were safe and comfortable. And that night, I remember when we couldn't sleep, we heard something outside, and Daddy had already gone back to bed. He was already in bed. He'd already checked on us and everything. And we heard something outside. So, of course, we all get on the bed that's closest to the window and we're all looking outside. And what is that? What was that? When you're a kid, you're not scared to look outside. When you're an adult, you get a little more nervous to look outside. But we were like, what's that? Just curious. And we didn't see anything, and we started talking. We're looking up at the sky and everything. And this shooting star blazed across the night sky. We all saw it. It was just amazing. And we knew that was a time that we needed to make a wish. So, we're all supposed to make a quiet wish. You're not supposed to tell anybody your wish. But I wished for a pony. Ultimate child. I wanted a horse. Of course, I asked for another animal. So I was like, I wish when I wake up in the morning that there will be a pony in my backyard. That's what I wished for. And you know what? When I woke up, there was a pony in the backyard. I am not kidding you. Like I said, my grandmother was there at the time, and I think my brother is the one that was like, "There's a horse in the backyard." He came and running into our room and yelling at us, telling us, "There's a horse in the backyard. There's a horse." So of course we all run out to the backyard. We're all running around the horse, and it was a pony. It was a Shetland pony. It wasn't a very big horse. I can say we had a slide on our swing set, and the back of him just came up to the slide. So and that slide's not very tall. So what we did was my brother said, "I'm going to get on that horse and I'm going to ride it." And as soon as, my grandmother, her room was closest to the backyard where we were screaming and carrying on. So she runs outside and she's like, we're literally pushing the horse against the slide so my brother could get up on the slide and get on his back. And she is screaming at us, "Get away from that horse, get away from that horse." I mean, it could have kicked us or anything, but we're just kids. And my brother got on his back and started riding him. And it was my turn next. I was going to do it next, but my brother, he was like bound determined to get on it. And my grandmother screaming and telling us, "Get away from the horse," and we're paying no attention to her at all. We're in heaven. We're, my wishes come true. We have a horse, and it's basically me and my brother doing it all. And she runs and gets my mama, wakes my mama up. "Ooh, you don't want to wake up my mama and make her mad." But she did. When Mama said, "Get off that horse, get away from here, get in this house," we listened. And she had a Hot Wheel track. At that time, that was her favorite thing to whip us with. She had graduated from a belt, switches, to a Hot Wheel track. I don't know if they still make them. Back then, it was an orange Hot Wheel track. It was real flexible and wobbly. It was thick. And it was, she could spank you and you didn't have to be that close to her, and she could get you. Even if you were running by, she could smack you good. So, oh my gosh. When I got up on the stairs to her, she just took me by the arm and started beating me with that Hot Wheel track. I had Hot Wheel track whelps all over me, and so did my brother. She gave him a good beating too. Now, I don't know if the other girls got it, because me and my brother, we were the ones that were really into the horse. So I don't know if the other kids actually got the beating that we got, but we got a good beating. And while we did deserve to get into trouble, I don't know if we deserved to get beaten like we did, but my mother was embarrassed that we weren't listening to her mom, I think, because we weren't listening to her, and it made her mad that we weren't listening. We should have listened to Grammy when she told us something and we didn't. And so she was mad. So, and the sound that we had heard that night that made us look out into the yard anyway and see the shooting star was the horse. The horse had broken through the fence. Our fence was leading to a pasture. So we had a huge backyard, but in the back of us there was no other houses. It was a big horse pasture, and this horse had broken through the fence and gotten into the yard and probably was already there when I wished for a horse. How funny is that? He was already there. So that's probably what we heard, and why we looked out the window in the first place. So it's funny. But watch out, wishes do come true, but be careful what you wish for. Make sure when you wish for a horse that it's your horse and that one that you can keep, because pretty soon the people that owned the horse came and took the horse away within a few hours. So the horse was gone, and we had a striped butt. So as you can probably imagine, I was quite the tomboy. Hearing all that, I will get into other things about that later in another story. But I did ride motorcycles and mini bikes, motorcycles, and we had a lot of fun. In this house, we had a go-kart. So we had a really big backyard, and we were allowed to ride a go-kart. This go-kart, my dad had to be there. He would supervise it, and he would stand there while we drove it around because we were in elementary school. So we never did it unsupervised or anything like that. And yeah, we always had something fun. Always had, something to ride on and play with, really. And then we graduated to a mini bike at another house, and then another house I got a little motorcycle. And yeah, I had a good old time. But I was quite the tomboy. Me and my brother used to look for snakes. Now, we had moved away from that house that had the moccasins. I never looked for snakes with him when we lived in that house. But this house was far away from the ditch. But it was a very big backyard, and it was almost part of the pasture. So there was a lot of big rocks in it and all. It wasn't just like a backyard to a home you would think of now. It was really huge. We even had a garden back there. It was so big. But me and my brother, I remember we had a little red wagon. We put a bunch of grass in it, and then we would go and pull up every rock and stone we could find, and we would, get the little grass snakes and fill up our wagon with grass snakes, and we would just see how many we could find in one day. And then my older sister, she was deathly afraid of snakes, and of course we would take a snake and chase her all around with it. The other sister was afraid of frogs, so we could, I would hunt frogs too, you guys. I never had a problem. I could still pick up a frog now. It wouldn't bother me. Even my husband is so afraid of snakes. Now, I wouldn't go pick up a snake because I wouldn't want to get bit or anything. I wouldn't go pick up a snake. But I don't have that fear of them like my husband has, like a death fear of them. I'm like, it's a snake. Maybe because, I was a little tomboy. But I remember one summer evening, we had filled our wagon full of snakes, a bunch of snakes, and we had grass piled all on top of it. And my sister that was scared of snakes, we talked her into somehow putting her hand in the grass. And a snake rolled over her hand. She about had a fit. She was 3 years older than me, so yeah. That was the last time we fooled her for that, that's for sure. But we were always having a really good time outside. We played outside all the time. Back in those days, we were expected to be outside, and we wanted to go outside. It was, I think it was better off for us if we were away from my mother and out of her hair, because she could turn on a dime. She had a bad temper, and if she said go out and play, you went out and played. You didn't argue with her or nothing. You're just like, be happy that she didn't smack you and send you outside. But we played outside most of the time. But school had started again. My Grammy had gone back to Maine, so I'm pretty sure she stayed, a good part of the summer with us. She would stay for a couple of months for sure, but she went back to Maine, and things went back to normal. My mama waitressed during the evenings, and Daddy took care of us. So whatever shift that he had to work, she would try to work the opposite of his, so that somebody would be there to take care of the children all the time. And I remember, I told you we all had a chest of drawers that we all shared. And our chest of drawers, I can remember, it was up against the wall. We were playing some music. I told you we loved to dance. And do you remember on Soul Train, remember those go-go dancers with the boots? They'd have the white boots on. Well, for Christmas, I had asked for a pair of boots. And I had a chunky leg, y'all. I had a fat little chunky leg. I remember I zipped it up and broke the zipper. But I had one of them zipped up and one of them didn't. So I had my boots on, I'm sure. And I wanted to be a go-go dancer on Soul Train. So we had the music up really loud, me and the girls. I got on top of my Chester drawers, my bureau, and started doing go-go dancing. I was dancing, but I was kicking my legs out because I had my boots on and I wanted to, dance like a go-go girl. And my bureau was teeter-tottering back and forth because I was really, you know, I was stamping on that top of that bureau, and it was just shaking, going back and forth. And pretty soon, I lost my footing and I lost my balance, and the bureau almost fell over, and I fell off the bureau. And of course, I fell face first. I hit my face on the floor, and the floor had no carpet, as I said before. It was a vinyl floor. Face first, because my mouth was probably open, singing, knocked my tooth out. I knocked this tooth out right there, and it was broke off. So my mouth was busted. I had a busted lip. I had a broke off tooth. Daddy put some ice on my lip and everything, and then Mama came home from work and saw what happened. Those kind of things only happen when Daddy's watching you, because Daddy was probably watching TV and not paying attention. But she had me in the dentist chair the next morning. I don't know how she did it. I guess back in those days it was easier to get a dental appointment. I had never been to the dentist ever in my life. And I was, like I said, I think I was around 10 years old at that time. And he put a temporary cap on my tooth, and then I went to school. And then, later on I got the permanent one, and did all the dental work and everything. And I never went to the dentist again until I was a grown adult. That's how it was, I guess, with 5 kids. That's just how it was. But I only had one cavity, and the first time I went to the dentist, I only had one cavity. So, drank lots of milk. My mother always said, "Drink a lot of milk, make your teeth strong." We did. But yeah, my mother, God bless her. When my dad looked at me, he told me, "You're a snaggletooth." And my mother wasn't going to let me be a snaggletooth, that's for sure. So God bless her for that, taking care of me, because I could have went to school with a broken off tooth. And, at the time it didn't bother me that much, but of course it would have after. The children would have made fun of me, I'm sure. But she made sure that nobody ever saw me with a broken tooth. Nobody did. It was fixed the next day. And I was, like I said, I was just like, okay, everything's fine again. So, and when I became an adult, after I got married to Johnny, I had that tooth redone again, because I had it done as a child, and it was a really big fat cap. You know how they used to put on those real big old caps, and I wanted it redone. I didn't like it, so I had it redone again, so it looks a little bit better, but. Still, I would have both of them done. If you're going to have one cap in the front, you should have 2, I think. That way they match perfectly. But, oh well. In another lifetime. I'm finished trying to look good now. Whatever I have. Whatever it is, right? But I do remember having one epiphany when we lived in that house. A feeling that I had never had before. And it was really odd. And it came out of nowhere. I don't, I don't know why this came over me or what, but I was very close to my brother. Like I said, we were 14 months apart. We did all kinds of things together. We played together all the time. I was closer to him than anybody else in the family. And I remember we had an attic in this house, and there was two. I think there was two different ways to get into the attic. There was another porch in this house too. There was like a front porch area, and I remember sitting there and my brother wanting to go up in the attic, and he said he was going to go up in the attic, and I remember not wanting him to go up there. I remember that a fear, a chill came over me that it was, was startling. And remember, I'm only like 10 years old, and all of a sudden I got this horrible fear that my brother should not go in the attic. And I had to tell him, don't go in the attic. And, he wasn't allowed up there anyway. My mother wouldn't want him up there. He's not supposed to go up there. And I just had this feeling of doom, a horrible feeling of doom. And, you know, I told him, if you go up in that attic, I'm going to tell on you. I'm going to tell mom. And I persuaded him not to get up there. So I don't know if that was, just the beginning of listening to my spirit guides and telling me, giving me a little guidance to, help my brother to make sure he could have fallen through, the ceiling or something or got hurt. Who knows? I don't even know what was up there because I didn't ever go up there. But it was just this crazy, crazy, scary feeling. And, I can just say I honored that feeling because I didn't let my brother go up there. I got after him and told him, I'm going to tell on you. You better get down, get off that ladder. And he listened. So hopefully that kept him from getting hurt, And from that time on, I always had this feeling. I always had this feeling about my brother that I felt like the need to watch over him and take care of him, and something was going to happen to him, and something did happen to him. A few years later, something horrible did happen to him, but I wasn't there with him, and I'll tell you another story about that. But it was almost like I felt this impending thing that was going to happen to my brother, and he had a horrible accident, and he almost lost his leg. So I'll tell you all a story about that another time. But that did happen when I was an adult. After I already had 3 children. So yeah, I had all my no, I was pregnant with the last child when that happened, I have to say. But yeah, that's my memory. Okay, guys, I'm going to close it here. It's almost 30 minutes. So I hope you guys are enjoying my story. And as we go along, like I said, it's probably not going to be a linear story, but it's going to be my story, and I'm going to tell it the way it just comes out. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks for listening to me. I appreciate it. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in, and share my story with others, and like it if you like it. Hit that like button. I appreciate it. That'll bring my channel out to other people. If you'd like to get a reading with me, I'm doing readings. I'm doing healing sessions every day. I like to even do healing sessions in the evening, and I tell this to people a lot. When you send me a request for healing, I might not do it till the evening because I feel like you're going to go to sleep right after the healing session, and you wake up feeling more refreshed, more energetic, and I feel like it works more beneficially. So a lot of times I'll wait till the evening to do it, unless I have a whole lot of them, and I just got to do, some in the afternoon and some in the evening. So if you'd like to get a healing with me, let me know. Chakra balancing or energy work, whatever you need, let me know. And thank you so much for, being with me. I hope you guys are experiencing some beautiful weather. It's sunny today after all the rain that we got yesterday. You heard in Pasadena, Texas. That's where all my children were born, in Pasadena, Texas. I heard all the tornadoes that happened there yesterday. So God bless the people, and hopefully cleanup is underway and getting things back into order. So our prayers are with you. Just want you to know. Love you guys so much. Do something kind for somebody. It'll always come back to you. Bye for now until part 4. Love you.